All right, so bringing in a little bit of context before I played this video, Andrew Tate just came out with the fire. He just basically said, hey, if you want to do an interview with me, you need to pay. All right, so we're going to be bringing this video into the reaction channel, and this video is just going to be a subsidiary of what Raven Concepts does. We do so much when it comes to mindset, and the reason why we're talking about this video, not just any reaction video, I think we will get into some of the reaction videos later on into the future. But for now, this video is going to lead us off because this video is talking about what we talk about, mindset. And he is just spot on when it comes to what he's trying to teach, what he's trying to preach. And I know people don't like him because of things that are out of context. If you listen to all of my podcasts, if you listen to all of my Mindset OD, if you listen to any content that I publish on motivation and motion, on all of my channels, you are going to find things that I say that can be put out of context. You just have to delete something here, paste something there, and you're going to get a different narrative about what I say, what I do, what I preach. And he even says in the video, which we're going to get to just right now, what his mission is, what his goal is. And people still label him, people still attack him because he has a mindset that is dangerous. And we're going to get into that. So let's start watching the videos and let's start to react on what is really happening with Andrew Tate.
In the interest of saving absolutely everybody's time, I feel like doing a generalized statement to all legacy media inside of the Matrix. And I'm doing it to save their time and mine, as well as protect the minds of the masculine youth for the future. I want to make it very clear that the legacy media, which I enjoyed the company of today, have made a massive mistake and missed a chance to do some genuinely interesting journalism. After being unfairly incarcerated in a Romanian dungeon, I thought that even the BBC, in its absolute arrogance and hubris, would be smart enough to come to me after 6 months, being the first interview I gave to the Matrix, and be smart enough to ask questions people were genuinely interested in. What's it like inside of a Romanian prison cell? How were you treated? Why was a person's liberty deprived of them for 6 months without charge? How is your mental state post your unfair incarceration? Things people are genuinely interested in hearing. But instead, they came with the same old talking points. And I'd like to address all of these talking points to the Matrix media now to prevent this happening again, because it's a monumental waste of everybody's time.
So he says a lot of things in the beginning. He's talking about when he is going to have BBC come over for this interview, and he's expecting a certain type of interview where it's going to be talking about, oh, hey, you know, how was your time in prison? Tell me about it. And even if they did that, right, they would not post that. And the reason I say that is because a hit piece is a hit piece. And what they do with hit pieces, and I mean, it happens to everyone. Look at my bookshelf behind me, successful business people that are not like prominent or anything. It's just that they just have a demeanor to them, a successful type mindset, an alpha type mindset, and people will attack them. So I was reading a book, I forget which one. I think it was like a Jack Canfield book or something along those lines. Could be a different book. But in that book, he talked about a situation where he went for a photo shoot for, you know, probably like a CNN or a magazine, New York Times or whatever it was. He went for a photo shoot and the photographer was like, all right, well, let's loosen up a little bit. And he was like, make a fist, or angry fist and things like that. And this was just to get him looser, apparently. But once the photographer got his picture that he wanted to use for the publication, he then said, okay, now let's do the real photo shoot. So he took a bunch of nice photos and things like that. Guess what picture the photographer used? He used the one where he has his fist like this, right? So now everyone gets this image of this man. Oh, he's angry. He wants to fight. He wants to harm people. And so he's thinking BBC's going to come in and do a great job. But guess what? That is not what news does. News medias know what sells. Negativity, drama. They don't want to care. Like, to be honest, they don't care about him. They don't want to know about his feelings or what he went through or what he's going through. They want to talk about things that are out of context and then pin it on him.
I say things on the internet. I've been making content on the internet for a very long time. Finding a clip from 2016, 8 years ago, finding a 4-hour-long podcast from 2016, ignoring all context, ignoring everything positive I say about men and women and the world, and taking a single sentence and trying to pretend that's my entire worldview is not the bombshell you think it is. Nobody cares. Everybody understands what satire is. Everybody understands what a joke is. Everybody understands it's the internet. Everybody understands all of these things. Plus, the people who know the truth of my message are very capable of understanding what is satirical and what is true. People are not as stupid as you'd like them to be. Sitting down with me and missing the chance to have a genuinely interesting interview with genuinely interesting questions that people are interested in hearing the answers to, and instead attempting this attack to get this bombshell aha moment is never going to work. Because one, I'm too smart for all of you. And two, nobody cares. Nobody cares I made a joke 8 years ago because everybody knows I was joking. And everybody knows the truth of my message. So you're wasting absolutely everybody's time. Worse than wasting everybody's time, what you're genuinely doing is damaging the minds of young men. And I think I have a responsibility as one of the most influential men on the planet to protect the minds of young men and all of the men who look up to me. Nobody, no young man below the age of 30 has any interest in what the BBC or the legacy media say. They don't care and they don't watch it, unless I appear on there. So when I sit across from a reporter who says that having a nice car makes you a misogynist, it's disingenuous. And also,
financial success
correct.
With a Bugatti and a cigar, but it comes with a side order of misogyny.
How does having a Bugatti and a cigar come with misogyny?
Because it's all mixed together in what you teach.
I find.
Whoa. I mean, if you are going to drive a certain car and be labeled as a misogynist, then I mean, we are really getting into the nitty gritty of the problems in our world today, especially when it comes to feminism, when it comes to just people understanding, hey, you know, it's okay for ladies to have values, but men can't have values. And I find it just bizarre how you can take something out of context from 8, 10, 20 years ago that someone says and hold them accountable to it. Because after 8 years, I can almost guarantee you probably had a mindset shift. If you know anything about the mindset, it's going to change. You're not going to have the same mindset that you had in high school as you would in college. You're not going to have the same mindset that you have in college that you would in the real world. You evolve as a person. You learn from your mistakes. And it's not that we're sorry for our mistakes when we're 16. It's just that we learn from those mistakes. So yeah, people are going to take things out of context, but you cannot just get out of context in everything you do. So we're going to be looking at the rest of the video and seeing what type of misogyny this guy is really doing.
I find that to be extremely dangerous rhetoric. I find that to be extremist rhetoric. And I think it's very dangerous for young men to think if they work hard for something in their lives, if they dedicate themselves and they're diligent and hardworking and they try hard, that they'll be a bad person. I hate the idea of a world where a man who dedicates himself to excellence so he can enjoy the finer things in life is criticized and ostracized and called horrible names purely because he's been a hardworking male. And I don't like young men hearing these extremist ideas. And they're only going to hear these extremist ideas if they watch the BBC, which is an extremist organization. And they're only going to watch the BBC if I talk to the BBC. So I feel like now that these people have proved themselves to be extremist and very damaging to the minds of young men, I have an obligation to not interact with them very much because I don't want them spreading their extremist propaganda. We have a men's mental health crisis. Young men are disenfranchised. The suicide rate amongst men is much higher than women, and everybody pretends to care.
Successful suicide
rate. But when I
rate.
come along and say, I am a man, I've been a man. I know how it feels to be a sad man and a happy man. And I found happiness through masculine achievement and strength, through working hard in the gym, through dedicating myself, through building a life worth living, through taking care of the people who I love, both male and female, through becoming financially successful, through sticking up for myself, through having opinions, through being a man of honor and courage. When I do these things, I'm ostracized and they're attempting to destroy my life. This goes beyond a few media interviews. They are attempting to put me in jail and destroy my life because I am helping young men. They don't care about men's mental health.
And that is true. Mental health for men is one of those things as nice as a clearance section at a grocery store or in a Walmart or something like that. Because yes, we do have a problem in men's health and mental health, but it takes a back burner for everything because we don't look at all the inequality when it comes to men. Women will talk about inequality all day. They'll say they're not getting paid enough. They're saying that men are bigger and stronger than them, and that's racist or that's prejudice, whatever you want to call it, whatever word they come up with at that time. And men are suffering. Men can lose half of their stuff in a divorce, everything they work for. Men can lose their kids because a woman doesn't feel happy or she doesn't want to be in a marriage or she found a new man to pleasure her. And I mean, it is just so common. And then we wonder why men are having issues. We wonder why men are not showing up in their day. It's because the cards are stacked against them. And it doesn't mean that they can't win. It's just that a lot of men are just asking themselves, well, is this going to be worth it? Is it going to be worth fighting for? And Andrew fights for those men who are struggling right now, saying, listen, I know it's tough, but you can have great success. Look at what I can do. And this is what happens with men like this of that stature. They'll have the cars, they'll have the planes and all of the things, the jewelry. And it can be a visual cue. And what he says is the auditory cue for getting into the mindset permeating your limiting beliefs. However, if you drive a fast car, you drive a very expensive car, I mean, it's crazy to kind of think it's misogynistic that you have a car and you smoke cigarettes and you drink alcohol. I mean, yes, I guess that could be a masculine trait, but if a woman did it, it would be, oh, she's having a good time. She's enjoying herself. So how we say things is kind of on the opposite side. It's not fair. It's not equal. So yes, we know that men and women are biologically different, but again, women in feminism spells for equality when truly feminism is not about equality. It is about making women superior over men. Now, you can say whatever you want about feminism, but what I can tell you about feminism is that it's extremely destructive to women, to men, to a global populace. It doesn't do anything good. Yet we tout it, people follow it because they don't know the detriments behind it. So what he's doing is not saying feminism is bad. He's saying men need to show up and make it so powerful, or make men so powerful that no one can catch them. No other gender can catch them. It's only two genders, but no other gender can catch them. For all the people who want to say there's 50 genders or whatever, there's not. There's two. All right. So either way, reaction video channel. He's talking about how can he make men be the top dog, be the top G.
They have no interest at all. In fact, the ideas they purport, like I've just explained, are genuinely damaging to the mindset of young men. On top of this, they waste everybody's time because their aha moment never works. Nobody's interested in it, and I destroy them with ease. But my hourly rate is high. It's not very fun for me to do. I just do it. It has to be done, but I don't particularly enjoy it. I allowed you into my home. I'm doing you a favor, giving you the first interview I'm giving to the public. You don't come here with a position of authority. You're not the police. I don't respect the BBC. I don't know you. You do not come here with a position of authority over me. We are equals. We are people. We're citizens of the world, and we sit here as equals. And I see you as my equal, and if you ask me questions, I can ask you questions back. For you to come here and sit down and pretend you're the Gestapo and that you don't have to answer my questions is disingenuous because I don't owe you anything.
Asking questions and you answer.
But I don't owe, no,
however you want.
This is a conversation, and I don't owe you any degree of authority over me. So let's make that clear. And that doesn't matter if you're a man or.
Why does she feel Like, this interview is me asking questions. You can't ask me any questions. And I mean, I have a whole podcast where the interview is about the individual. However, if the individual wants to ask me a question, I'm going to say, listen, buddy, like, this is not about me. This is not talking about my life, right? This is about you. And sometimes people will ask me a bunch of questions back and forth, and I will definitely answer those questions. But at the same time, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to answer your question because this is an interview about you. I'm going to, again, say, hey, but let's get to the point, right? The real reason we're here. I want to talk about the work that you do because, again, those interviews are for allowing my viewers, my audience to understand that there is other coaches, there are other coaches that are out there that have mindsets. Because if I was just one person, this is what happens when you're just one person and you are just ready for attack. If I was just that one person that was talking about mindset, that was talking about growth and personal development, people would think that I'm a lunatic or I'm a quack or whatever it is. It's because I can be attacked easily that way. However, if you are a man of stature, you are still going to be attacked, but to a whole nother level. For me, people are just going to say, oh, blah, blah, blah. For him, it's just like, oh my God, can you believe what he said? Can you believe what he did? And he has the right, especially in his own home, to ask questions. And if you know anything about his interview style, he also asks questions when people ask questions that are out of context. For example, Piers Morgan interview. He was asking Piers, questions throughout the interview because he was like, let me ask you a question, Piers, right? And then Piers would answer because it makes sense. It's not like I'm interviewing you, Piers. It's just like, I'm going to answer your question, but let me get a little bit of information first. And so this lady is just totally in, bonkers on her mind. It's similar to that lady that I think it was CNN or something like that. Maybe Fox. I forget. The lady who did Trump. It was like a recent thing with Trump. And Trump says, oh, you're a nasty lady. And this lady has all of the vibes as that same one.
Woman or from the BBC or the CNN. I'm here to answer your questions and be honest with you and do you a favor.
Great.
And I'm doing you a favor. But you come here with loaded questions. You're trying to paint a narrative of me which is negative.
I'm asking you
And
about
that's
things
fine.
you've said that people are concerned about.
And that's fine.
You
But you're
have
not
said
going to sit here and say
women's-
you don't answer my question.
I want to
It's
know
not
who's
relevant.
concerned.
So, in the interest of spreading good and positivity in the world, which is my number one objective, I am making this clear to all legacy media outlets. I will no longer interact with you for free. Nobody cares that you lie about me and nobody cares what you say. You have destroyed all of your credibility in the last 4 years of constantly lying about everything. And continuing to lie about me will only destroy your credibility further. I have an organization called Tate Pledge, which you can see. Go to cobratate.com and click at Tate Pledge, and you will see that I dedicate $25 million a year to feeding children, both male and female, in war-torn countries. I would like to think that even the legacy media can agree that feeding children in Sudan, or Turkish children after an earthquake, or Syrian children in refugee camps is a pretty positive thing to do for the world. In my last BBC interview, she tried to spin it and say that what I'm doing is somehow negative because I'm only doing it for myself. But this is the level of delusion these people operate under.
Because some people would look at that and say, okay, so before you got money from attracting people to your website by making controversial comments, but that might have got you into trouble. And so now you're looking for a new market. You're looking for a new market of followers who are attracted by a different sort of persona.
I've always done the charity work, so that is obviously incorrect. And I have proof that I've always done the charity work, so you're wrong.
Tate Pledge is funded 100%.
Let's go back to that, right? So he's looking for a new market because people don't like him. So if his market right now is helping young men get into a powerful, strong mindset, where and why has his market shifted? Is it now focused on the ladies? So he's now telling women that, hey, you need to respect your man and things like that. Some are going to like it, some are not. Because if you look at podcasts like that Kevin Samuels he was talking about the Black community and how Black women have to show up and not separate in their marriages because of happiness or feelings or things like that. and asking them questions like, why do you think you are not in a loving relationship, basically? So he's saying, hey, this is what I expect women to do. And this is a very traditional type mindset. And we talk about traditional type mindset. We talk about modern type mindset here at Reverend Concepts, because the different types of mindsets are going to be, again, what you want. So he's just talking about a certain type of mindset. It's going to be crazy. For example, if I make a video making Italian dishes, and I'm Black, as you can see, and I make some killer Italian dishes, and I said, this is the best. People are going to say, no, that's not the best. That's nowhere close to the best, blah, blah, blah. What do you know about cooking Italian? I'm getting attacked because I'm making a video on Italian dishes. Now, can I not be the best at making Italian dishes? Sure, right? Can he maybe not be the best role model? Maybe to some. Because if you ask people, especially younger people, hey, do you know why people hate Andrew Tate? They'll say, I don't know, but I know I'm not supposed to like him. So they will hate a man because they were told by a friend that they're not supposed to like him. They are going to be told by someone that, oh, this guy is a misogynist and he doesn't respect women and things like that. And I mean, this guy is an upstanding guy because he's not only helping young men, he's helping women understand their roles, because those roles or gender roles were lost because people wanted to think different, or women wanted to be masculine and no longer wanted to be feminine. However, there is a power that comes with femininity that men can't do. If we look at what's happening with the trans community, men are trying to be more feminine. Does it work? It does not.
Sent by me. This is my personal money. But I believe if the legacy media is intent on spreading hate, intent on spreading extremist ideologies, which it seems they are, not only the extremist ideology that men shouldn't work hard, but also a bunch of other ones, which I don't need to mention because most thinking people understand what the legacy media is trying to purport on not only the population, but the young children of the world. And what they are trying to push is far more damaging than me saying you should go to the gym. Therefore, I no longer have any interest with interacting with the legacy media.
Nothing wrong
for
going to
free,
the gym.
because I don't want their extremist views shown to young children without doing some good for the world. My fee from this point onwards is $50,000 and a box of chocolates.
That's not a lot of money.
That is what it is going to cost you to speak to me. If you are from the Matrix, you will give me $50,000 in advance, which will be donated to Tate Pledge, which will be used to feed children in war-torn countries. And you will also bring a box of chocolates to my gate, which I will ingest as I listen to your Matrix propaganda and destroy you. Because I deserve chocolates if I have to put up with you. I'm an extremely successful man, and my time is valuable. And you're wasting mine, yours, and everybody else's. So if you're going to come along with your extremist ideas, I would at least sleep better at night if you were feeding some poor, innocent children somewhere in the world. But you have no interest in doing any good for the earth. You're only interested in spreading hate, unlike me who wants to do good things. So, post my BBC interview, I've been contacted by the New York Times, CNN, the Clinton News Network, all of them. And they're all desperate to interview me because they understand the number of views it will get.
When you put Andrew Tate's name, because he's always trending on Twitter, he's always trending on YouTube, the shorts, things along those lines, because he is a guy that can make sales happen. So when the BBC got that interview and it's got all these views, everyone's like, well, I want a piece of the pie too. And I don't blame news media for doing that. But how can news media say that they're news media if they're only putting one side to the story? For me, it's like, put the whole thing out. You can then talk about some key points from the interview, but you don't talk about things that have happened in the past 10, 20 years ago. Because if we look at this man, just looking at the mindset of this man, right? The reason who he is today, the man he is today, is because he had enough trauma, enough hardship in his life. He grew up poor. He grew up struggling. Yet, no one would care about this man if he was still eating beans and rice. No one would care about this man if he didn't have all of these cars and if he wasn't this macho figure and this 3-time world kickboxing champion. If he didn't have a private jet, no one would care about him. He could be a small-time YouTuber with the same message, have said the same things before, but the problem is he is now mainstream. He is getting more views than CNN, NBC, ABC News combined because he's talking about something that people are interested in, and that's mindset, and that is growth.
I want to try now. I want to try now. And they all want to try a different version of the same aha moment, not understanding, because they're completely detached from reality, that it's not an aha moment and nobody cares. They're not interested. They're not smart enough to look at the board of the chessboard and say, this isn't going to work. Let's ask him questions people actually care about. They're not that smart. So if you want to waste your time and mine, that's what it's going to cost you. $50,000. I managed to procure meals at around 80 cents each. So we'll feed over 60,000 children for wasting an hour of my time, plus a box of chocolates. That is my fee.
So it should be more than 50. I know he's going to say it in a minute, but yes, you are going to be feeding children with your 1 hour, but these interviews are not just 1 hour. I want people to understand that it is not an hour. It is a lot longer than that, because then after the interview airs, he has to now address the interview because now it's out of context. He has to deal with all the backlash, and he has to deal with all the future media that comes in from whatever media he does. So if he does another interview, but this time with like the New York Times, he's going to again have the hour with them, but they're going to be there an hour before, maybe 2 hours before. He has to entertain them. He has to say goodbye to them when everything is said and done, and then he has to respond to them just like this because they effed up.
From this point forward, I will still speak to non-Matrix media outlets who are interested in the truth, interested in asking interesting questions that people want to hear the answers to. I will still be available to do my own podcasts and tell the truth. But as long as legacy media retain their reputation as peddlers of extremist ideology, I no longer have any interest in promoting them and making them relevant. It's better we allow them to become irrelevant, which they are doing, through their own dishonest actions. I will no longer interact with any of you for free ever again. So, to the 64 journalists who have emailed me so far since the BBC interview, do you have $50,000 in a box of chocolates? Because I'm not interested in speaking to you for any other reason. I actually think I'm being quite kind only charging 50 grand. I should charge 200 grand, but I'm a nice man. And $50,000 will still feed a lot of children. I promise any legacy media outlet that pays me the fee can have an interview. And I also promise to provide full accounting and receipts to prove that that money goes directly to charity, to feeding children in war-torn countries.
So that statement right there is going to, again, get a lot of people to purchase the interview slot with him. And he's going to maybe second guess that $50,000. $50,000 is not a lot of money, because if you think about how much they're going to get in return for just having the video, I would say the first 5 to 6 people, BBC being one of them, that pay the $50,000 are going to make more than $50,000 in ad revenue, because he is just a man that drives sales. And he should actually make it so if someone posts something that is incorrect, they get burned for it. So for example, if they spend $200, $250, I'm talking about $1,000, so $200, $250,000 on this interview with him, they're going to be very cautious about making it a hit piece, because at that point they're going to say, this is going to be a $250,000 investment. And if I'm wrong or we're wrong, we're going to end up like Budweiser and Target and all these woke companies, because it is not appropriate. People are tired of being lied to. From the pandemic all the way to now, people don't want to hear lies anymore. So if they're going to go to him and preach lies and talk about things that people don't care about. I don't care about what type of car a man drives. I don't care about how many cars he has. I don't care about what type of jet he has. I don't care if he drinks. I don't care if he smokes. I don't care what type of example he is trying to personify to people. Only thing I care about is what is your mindset. And we're going to keep on watching, and I'm going to talk about that just shortly, because the mindset is what is key.
But I will no longer allow the Matrix propaganda machine to infect the minds of innocent children by using my relevance to achieve interviews and get views they would never normally get to spread hateful propaganda. If you can't afford me, you're going to have to go back to just lying about me without speaking to me, because God knows the truth. I know the truth. Most of the world knows the truth. And I genuinely believe that Allah is the best of planners. And whatever happens to me, regardless of whether I am martyred, regardless of whether they put a bullet in my brain, I know what I have done is good for the world, and the things I will do will continue to be good for the world.
Yep, as
Get
long
your
as you know.
checkbooks out, or don't email me at all, because there will be no compromise. I don't care what you try and do and say to goad me into an interview. You can lie about me all you want. It's what you do already. I'm not afraid of your lies. It's going to cost 50 grand plus a box of chocolates.
There it is. He drew the line in the sand. All right, so that was what was happening with Andrew. He came out with that video, and I enjoy the animation that goes from the logo or goes into this logo, right? He has a great last name to be a public figure, right? Just that one name, one name, Tate. Very simple. He has that iconic chest piece, the knight, and he's just saying, hey, you can attack me all you want. Come for it. It's going to cost you, right? So now people have to put some skin in the game. We talk about skin in the game and mindset. So all of this is going to be happening. We're going to see more interviews coming out because people will pay the $50,000. People will be having him more now on their platforms, and he's going to get even bigger. And I think after about 6 interviews, he's going to say, you know what, it has to be more money. I'm just wasting so much time. I'm wasting so much effort, dealing with these people. It's just a lot of hard work to do all that. And plus he has his own personal life to deal with, and, being on house arrest continually throughout the year. When are they going to let an innocent man go? So he drew the line in the sand. $50,000 if you want to be a mainstream media or legacy media outlet that wants to interview him, and understand that he is going to burn every single person that tries to do it. This is not an interview. This is not a hit piece. This is going to be a conversation that he wants to have, and he's going to lay it out, and he's going to be brutally honest, and you can take things out of context. And there are videos of him putting that said reporter out of context, and I don't have the video, I don't believe, on my Twitter, but he basically just says, hey, this is what out of context can appear like, and he just says, this is it. Boom. So I encourage everyone to not only learn more about the people that people hate, from the Andrew Tates to the Kanye West to the Alex Jones of the world. People are going to hate them because they don't understand them, or they don't want to understand them, and they're going to ban them. They're going to look at them in a light that is just evil, Trump included, right? It doesn't matter if he was president. People are just not going to like a person because of what someone else said. People are going to talk bad about me one day, and I already told my wife about this. I said, listen, people are going to talk bad about me. People are going to hate me. People are going to label me, and you have to be strong. I already warned her about it. So just understanding the tricks, understanding what is going on in the world, all of that is going to be something we have to pay attention to.